Hello everyone and welcome to the Douglas On My Mind show. I'm Georgia Henderson, Public Information Director for the City of Douglas. It's good to see you again. It's been a couple of months since we have had a show, so we're glad that you're watching today. Whenever we're back from break, we're going to hear from the Douglas Exchange Club about a community project and how you can get involved. We'll be back with more Douglas On My Mind right after this break. We're back from break, and joining me on the show today is Brian Rumpker, who is a member of the Douglas Exchange Club. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here. And Brian is here today to talk to us about a community event we're all familiar with in this community, and that is the annual 4th of July Freedom Fest. But before we get into that, because he is a representative of the Exchange Club, if you would just give us an overview of the Exchange Club, your mission, purpose, and some of the things you do throughout the community.
Yes, ma'am. The Douglas Exchange Club is a civic organization here in town, and like many other civic organizations that are here, such as the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, 4-H, all those different types of things, they all have focus. They all focus on different areas. Our focus is on the children in the community, so needy children, needy families. So essentially, what the Douglas Exchange Club does is to raise funds. We typically raise $20,000 or more every year, and then we give those out to either other organizations or directly to families, just depending on the need. For instance, we gave approximately $16,000, I believe it was, to the Hope Center here in town, which is off of 221,
right.
and they do a whole lot for needy kids in that area of the community. We also give money to the Child Advocacy Center. We give money to different organizations, booster clubs, things like that. So what they'll do, if you're a club or if you're an organization that's interested or need help funding your organization, is they put together a presentation, and then they'll come to our club on any particular Thursday. We meet every Thursday at lunch, and they'll present their presentation and tell us why they need money, how much money they need, what they're doing with the money. Sometimes we'll even go into their books to make sure that they're using the money the way they're telling us to. And we get to vet them a little bit and figure out exactly what their need is and why they need it. And then we get to dictate how much money we'll actually give them based on their needs. So that's the purpose of our organization, and we've been around for many, many years. And yeah, so that's.
Well, that's great. Well, I tell you what, I thank you all for the work that you do in the community, especially the support of the children, which is very, very important. Another reason you're here today, or the main reason, is we have gonna call this the Save the 4th of July Freedom Fest campaign, an initiative that the Exchange Club is on. So if you would just tell everyone why we say that. Why are you here today to appeal to everyone to help save the fireworks?
It's not well known, but the Douglas Exchange Club does generally put on the fireworks every year. Our organization does it. We do have some help from the city, we have some help from the county, but the majority of it comes out of the Douglas Exchange Club's accounts. Now we raise that money. We have a lot of fundraisers during the year, but most of that goes towards our primary purpose, which is the children. Now we do send out letters and such to the community, to all the businesses in town, to try to raise money, and generally we get enough to pay for the fireworks every year. But because we do so many fundraising activities, and other civic clubs in the community, so many activities, which is a great thing. It's wonderful that there's so many people and clubs out there asking for money and then giving that money, spreading the wealth a little bit, giving it to people who really, really need it in our community. That's wonderful. but there's so many hands and so many pockets that our donations get smaller, whereas at the same time the price of fireworks keeps going up. So every 3 years, generally we sign 3-year contracts, so every 3 years that contract seems to go up.
And you're at that point now where you're
yes.
looking at a new contract.
That's right. So we're technically, last year was the last year of our previous 3-year contract. This year we're not under contract, but he wants a contract. He wants to get a
Exactly.
3-year contract. So at this point we have to decide if we're going to re-up or renegotiate a new 3-year contract. So we expect a really good show this year in order to try to gain that shit. But that's where we're coming at. That's where our problem lies right now, is because our donations have gotten so much lower and the price keeps going up every year for the fireworks. We're having trouble coming up with that money to pay for this, to commit to a new 3-year contract.
Well, let me ask you this so the viewers can have it in perspective. Give us an average cost range of the fireworks that we typically enjoy every year at Municipal Park.
For the past 3 years, it's been $10,000 per year. This contract that we're going for right now is additionally going to be $10,000 for the next 3 years, and that's what we'd be looking at.
So how can, I know you say you send out letters, so how would you appeal to the community to get them involved, to make those donations? What levels of donations you need?
Right. Well, I mean, the donations that we've received in the past, they have a very broad range, okay? So we might have a small business in town that may only give $100, and then we may have a business in town that may give $700 to $1,000, something along those lines. So obviously, if you own a small business, generally you're in a better position than most to be able to donate some. There's tax advantages to that. So of course, if you own a business, we encourage you to get in touch with us to offer up a donation or speak to us about what you can do about giving a donation. But there are other means to get involved with the Exchange Club specifically if you aren't in a position where you could actually donate money.
Right, right. Well, these type of festivals, events are important to a community, any community, especially here in Douglas and Coffee County, because we don't have like the major theme parks and all that stuff. So what we do have are grown, I call them events, locally produced events, where we try to attract people to our community. From a tourism standpoint, on an annual basis, all the different tourism-related events we have may generate over $56 million for our community, but the back-end tax dollars that we receive off of that may be to our local governments around maybe $2 million. Tourism in the community produces around over 500 plus jobs, so that's like the size, of a pretty good sized industry.
Right.
So it is important, and as people come into our community, yes, they stand in our hotels, they're eating in our restaurants, they're buying gas, shopping, so they find other things to do. It may be that 4th of July Freedom Fest that attracts them here, which we appreciate, but then they realize other things. I'm trying to discover is the word I'm looking for, other things in our community. So we definitely want to appeal to the community to help the Exchange Club and to get involved. With the 4th of July, as it has been, the 4th of July Freedom Fest, what, other than the fireworks, I know a lot of people come out for that, but you also have other little events playing with it in the past. Tell us about those activities.
Well, to go back on your point about the tourism, I think we discussed it before, and we estimate a minimum 10,000 people show up every year, which is a pretty good amount. But this year, we are hoping to draw even more people, and to include the surrounding counties, some of the smaller counties that are around us that may not have any fireworks at all, but let alone the fireworks show we're going to get this year.
You're right.
This should be our best year as far as fireworks, because we're at an in-between stage, somebody trying to get a contract.
That's right.
So we anticipate, or at least dollar figure wise, they're going to give us a better show than Douglas has ever had, considering, I'm not saying that we're going to be on up there with Atlanta or Macon or somewhere like that, but for a small town, we should get a pretty decent show.
But that
this
says
year.
a lot, Brian, because I've been to some other surrounding cities' fireworks before, just being out of town and visiting people, and Douglas is in there now. We have a pretty good show.
I think we have a pretty good show.
And for you to say that it's going to be just a little bit better this year, that's a plus.
So the fireworks should be better, but in addition to the fireworks, in years past, what we've done is members of our club, usually just somebody they know, they'll get somebody to come in, maybe do a couple songs on stage or something like that, and we usually find somebody to sing the national anthem. That's been a yearly thing. If you go back years and years ago, they had lots of other activities
That's
going on.
right.
They had a little chase the pig thing me and you talked about the other day and things like that. But this year, it's still in the works. It's not a definite, I don't believe, but I've been in contact with Matt Baldridge over at 106.7
Yes.
The Buck, and we're trying to do a partnership thing with the radio station where they may actually put on a bigger concert. They do a show every evening. If you listen to their radio station, it's called Local Licks at 6, and what we've discussed with them is potentially getting a budding artist that's on their radio station a lot or is requested a lot, and having them potentially come in and set up a stage and doing an actual concert, not something that us Exchange Club folks put together. Somebody that actually knows what they're doing is going to come in and set it up with production and everything else. So that all could potentially open the door for so many more things in the future, but this is just the first step in that.
Well, I tell you what, let's pause right there. When we come back from break, I want to hear more about the plans for this year and what could potentially happen or not happen in the years to come, okay?
All right.
We'll be back with more Douglas on My Mind right after this break. We're back from break, and still with me on the show today is Brian Rumpker, who is a member of the Douglas Exchange Club, sharing with us an initiative that they have going to save the 4th of July Freedom Fest. And before we went to break, we was talking about a new partnership with the Buck 106.7.
That's right.
So if you will, pick back up with that and kind of tell us your plans for the entertainment and how that's going to be handled this year.
Well, I'm hoping that Matt with 106.7 is really going to take all the planning, and that's their, when I've discussed it with him, that's the idea, is they would completely take over that area, which would take a lot of pressure off the Exchange Club, because we are not in the entertainment industry, any of us.
That's a perfect matchup for a radio station to get involved with that, especially when you mention about the Local Licks segment they have. That's great.
Yes, ma'am. So, and that's part of the draw too. Going back to the tourism thing, if we're able to get a young budding artist, because their radio station covers so much area, you know, that you've got Albany in there, Douglas, some of North Florida. So if we get an artist that's really starting to gain some popularity, we may really draw some people from outside this county to come in. So we're really hoping that that'll boost those numbers at the 4th of July, which will increase revenue for the city. It just, the interest altogether will go up. I know it's early to be talking about these dates. People are like, that is July, and they're talking about 4th of July. There's a need, people. That's right. But so the Freedom Fest will be on July 4th. That's correct. We're planning to open the gates at what time? Well, we normally get out there around 5. The gates will open around 6, and then of course the actual fireworks start at dark, which is usually about 9 o'clock that time of year. So in between the fireworks and gates opening, what are some of the activities that may take place? This year, we're hoping that I'm hoping that we can really broaden those activities in later years. But this year, we're going to really focus on just the concert and letting Matt do his thing and put that together, and then hopefully